Hello, beloveds. So, Koi, Vishuddha, and I have met up in Australia, and we're going to make a quick Q&A for you guys and answer the questions that you have sent in to us on Instagram.
Yeah, we got a bunch of questions. We asked this quite a while ago. We've been traveling for a bit, but we finally just found time to sit down and film. It's beautiful outside right now, the sun's setting, so we figured it's a good time to sit here and answer some of your guys' questions. Might as well start with a big question. What are your views on abortion?
Oh, God. Right into it.
Right into it.
Well, I have an abortion video on YouTube that many of you have probably seen. It got quite a big response. My view on it is that we should have the freedom of choice, so to choose what is best for us. But as I explained in the video, I've always kind of personally been against it because I think the universe is giving us what we need at the time. But for me, I did have an abortion, and I think there was a really important lesson in it for me. Most specifically was being in that situation led me to find out that the partner I was with was very mentally ill.
Yeah.
And I honestly would never have found out if it wasn't for that situation. But I'm also not going to say that I'm glad, it's been a really big healing process. I'm still forgiving myself for it, and it's been a couple of years now. So it's mixed opinions.
Yeah, I think for me, it's pretty much comes down to, I always feel like it's such like a big topic. I think of it the same way you think of, what are your views on jail or on divorce or on marriage? It's like it all comes down to the individual circumstance, and there's so much more going on in detail than we have access to on the surface. So to say it has to be one way or the other.
Every single situation as well.
Exactly.
So.
That's how I try to treat it is, some situations you can obviously see where maybe it shouldn't be done or shouldn't have been done. Other situations you can understand especially why it was done, and it comes out the right way when it was. So for me, it's always been a very circumstantial thing and comes down really to the individual experience.
And I also think that the religions that are very against it, we have to keep in mind that they made those perspectives a very long time ago, and in this day and age there's a lot of stuff happening that's very different than when these laws or perspectives were first created. Do y'all I've never said that before.
Sounds like
do y'all
it's like where I'm from.
Do y'all
keep my family speaks.
Keep a relationship status? Okay. Well, and there was a few questions asking if we're together, which we've addressed on our Instagrams because we're getting bombarded with this question for a while. But we actually broke up about 5-6 months ago.
Yeah, quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
Before we started traveling and everything together. We just realized that we share a lot of the same beliefs, but other things are different, which is totally normal. It happens when you're with someone and when things change. So we had to sit down and realize that our paths were going in two separate directions in certain ways, and that we need to work on ourselves, finding our own ways, finding that path, figuring out what works for us. And so I think we had to come to the best decision for that, and making sure we did what we needed to do in order to continue thriving in this life and going
for our highest path.
Yeah, exactly.
We thought when we met, because we have similar,
almost identical
spiritual beliefs, goals in life. At this time, I've been traveling for 12 years full time, and I'm starting to feel as I approach 30 that I'm still going to always travel. It's just who I am, but I kind of want to have more of a foundation, especially back in Canada, to be closer to my parents. And
I just started living out of my backpack.
I just started living out of this backpack, so it's kind of and I'm watching him do everything that I did 10 years ago. So
it's almost
just
I'm behind.
Kind of, yeah. And there's other things, obviously.
Yeah.
You need to constantly check in with yourself and be honest. And also, breakups aren't a bad thing. When I announced it on my Instagram, so many people were like, oh, I'm so sad. And this is some people were even angry. And it's why do you guys, it doesn't need to be a negative thing. As you can see, we're happy together. We're still exploring, having a nice time. It's just changed. And back to the main question, they're asking if we have a relationship status or something. I feel right now in my life, I don't want to have a boyfriend or a relationship. I've never even really liked using that term because I feel once we label it and once we, say, okay, we're married, we're this, it comes with a ton of expectations. Even if we don't want to try it, our human mind is just like, he's my boyfriend now, I expect this, 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 and it really changes the frequency of the whole relationship.
People like assume that when you go different directions, it has to be like automatically a negative, horrible thing, which is what we see on TV and what the media shows us, but it doesn't ever have to be like that. And there's ways you can go about trying to mitigate the situation and remain friends and move forward in a loving light.
Yeah, well, it's also done with a lot of mutual respect. So since we've broken up, like, neither of us, as far as I know, has been like with other people or talking about it or, you know, putting it in front of the other person's face, something like that. So, you know, giving that time and respect to slowly grow apart, not just like, you know, ripping off the Band-Aid and being like, we're broken up, bye. Like, it's actually nice doing it kind of coming off of each other slowly. Yeah, so
it's nice to be able to see both of us like in our own like ways, getting back into our path, the things we are called to. Because like I said, when you see in the media and stuff, you'll have people like break up and they'll be like, ooh, look who I have now, or like I like kind of like almost using people in certain situations.
People are
and like
acting on their emotions.
Exactly.
So yeah, I felt hurt and pain. Like it's not, you know, I don't want to like portray that, oh, it was so easy. We just decided one day.
Not.
No, like it was like
ugly
and it was painful and there was, you know, a lot of negative feelings between us, but it's also just holding that space afterwards and being like, okay, you're feeling that. I'm not going to act on my emotions and I'm not going to, you know, you don't need to make anyone feel bad. I see all the time that people
caught in that
want
pain
like,
forever and obsess over it and like let it fester.
So, and you know, we weren't talking about it online and stuff too. A lot of people were asking, but months later we were kind of in a space where it felt like, okay, I do want to talk about this and share it with people.
It's important to make a line too, you know, as creators sharing our lives to help people understand that we get to have our own personal lives too, and that not everything is, because people were bombarding Krystal especially with like, you have to tell us, and it's like, no, we don't have to tell anybody anything. Our lives are our lives.
I wasn't even ready when I did, but I just got to the point where I had to like share something because it was, you know, I'm trying to heal also, and people are asking me every single day. And I'm like,
it gets
please
like overwhelming.
Respect that, you know, I have feelings that I'm trying to heal from this, and I don't need to be reminded like 10 times a day of what I'm going through at this moment.
Yeah, exactly. So like we said earlier, do you share similar spiritual beliefs?
Yeah,
we do. So we both kind of came from, I guess, a more neutral or westernized religious upbringing a little bit.
Yeah, kind of atheist for me. Like, well, actually, I grew up Catholic.
Same.
And then I went into like
atheism,
and then Buddhism, which is the same.
Yeah,
like our path has really been basically the same. So then Buddhism, and then I went to Thailand and I studied that, and I still like use a lot of Buddhism within my life. But then it really became, I explored all different religions,
and the more deeper you go,
it really resonated with Hinduism. And the path that I follow and I share with others is non-dual Shaiva Tantra, and
my practice is Vedanta, which is non-duality. So
it's also non-dual.
Pretty much identical paths in different ways, which is one of the first things we notice about each other. But it's really cool. It's interesting no matter what to like meet someone who is on like a really similar path and
the same age. So
exactly. Pretty much the same path growing up and through life. So it's amazing. It's interesting.
Yeah. So that wasn't an issue in our relationship.
Not at all, right? There's no like arguments about like religious beliefs or
but there wouldn't be arguments
views.
anyways. Like I have friends that have different, totally different views than me. Like I have some really close Christian friends. And it's really interesting. We have like amazing talks about it because, you know, you can hold space and share your beliefs without it having to be like you're right or you're wrong.
Yeah,
so
or
it's
really beautiful, like
really beautiful
animosity.
Discussions happening.
Yeah. Even in America, you know, there's people who like will like marry someone else who's like a Republican or a Democrat, and they'll just like accept those other views and like not let it become a factor and like destroying their relationship, which can be based on other things that they think are obviously more important than that.
Well, it's also overly identifying with it. And you know, when people, especially online, we get attacked a lot, they're overly identifying with their religious views. So when they see someone else thinking something else or saying something they don't agree with that doesn't fall in line with their beliefs, they're taking it personally because they see it as an attack on themselves. So I think that's where a lot of, you know, especially the angry people online is coming from. If someone says something about Hinduism, I just respect that rather than, you know, because I can identify as a Hindu, then I'm not going to say, oh, this is the person attacking who I am.
Yeah. It's almost like them attacking their perception of who they think you are. So
it's
like a shot in the dark. I would love a video on getting out of the 9-to-5. Basically, how did you guys get out of the 9-to-5 system to where you are now?
I was never in it, so
I was in it for a few years.
I grew up with parents that basically are like, my mom's kind of 9 to 5 now, but they're very like free thinkers and do kind of what they feel. And like, you know, my dad taught me from a young age. He told me he'd only ever make enough to survive. So, and he has his own business, so he just works enough, and then he, you know, he goes by the river and has a beer every day once he's made just enough that day to survive. So I grew up like with very simple parents, and I do have a lot of goals, and you know, I've been able to reach most of them financially, but yeah, I was raised in a way that I was told I can do whatever I want, basically, and there's always a way to figure it out. So I've been self-employed and an entrepreneur when I was 18, and ever since. I've gone through so many different jobs. I've owned many businesses, and I studied investments for a while. I used to do that. Like, I always found a way to make it work to not do 9 to 5, but a big part was also I spent a lot of years sacrificing, working like 16-hour days, doing something I wasn't fully passionate about, because I knew later on I'd be able to live the life of my dreams and pursue my passions. So I did have, you know, many years in my early 20s that were just doing things that didn't actually feed my soul, but I knew eventually would lead me to things that really fulfilled me. And right now is an exciting time in my life because I'm finally starting to profit off of just my passions and making that transition, which is really exciting. But it takes time, and you have to have a clear vision of what you want in the future. So if I didn't know what I was passionate about, which has always been spirituality, veganism, helping others, you know, helping others who have gone through what I what I went through before.
Yeah.
I always knew eventually I'd be helping, and like being a writer and speaker, I always knew those things. So having that vision of long-term goals down the road, I was able to put all my time into doing something that I didn't love, but I knew that there was a purpose for it in the greater picture. So
Yeah, to build where you are now, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my whole thing. Is, you know, I was almost the opposite. I was like, my dad was a businessman and my mom worked in a school, so I was taught like, oh, you can live the life you want inside the system, you know. So I until I ended up, you know, having my accident and going to jail and like having to kind of like break down who I thought I was, I didn't even think of that as an option. But once I had been there, I realized, you know, I didn't want to ever put myself. I lived in a box for 10 months, so my thing was like, I don't want to ever do this again, like for my life, especially not. So it took a couple of years once I got out, and once I was working in restaurants and stuff, and I moved across the country. But I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I had in mind, you know, I wanted to help people or find a way to like share things that I found interesting that I thought maybe other people could learn from or grow from. And eventually I got to the point where that, again, like was happening with you, it became enough to be able to quit that job and focus on that fully. And that's just what I've been doing ever since, is doing that and making my way. And I don't plan to ever go back to, you know, working back in a system like that. It just doesn't call to me. I don't think I would ever be able to fully enjoy life if I was forced to live back in that way, because it never really helped me the way this helps me, being free, being able to decide, you know, how can I help people, what can I do to do this, how can I help myself, how can I make a living out of this, and show myself that I can continue to thrive and help others thrive, and stay out of this box of just complete, almost like soul draining work that just like confines you. Yeah, exactly, perfectly confines you. So I don't ever want to be confined like that again. So my whole focus is continuing to do what I do and reinvent ways that I can do that come from my heart and that I think can help others. And
so yeah, I think for both of us, it was finding our passion and just working towards that and figuring out whatever path, you know, it's not always going to be one path,
yeah,
but figuring out that way to get there. And then also having the confidence in yourself to not let your fears stop you. Like, you're a really confident person. That's why you were able to do it when you were young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I put it off a lot of things too, because I'm like, oh, you know, I'm careful. Maybe I won't do it, and this is making me good money right now, so I don't want to step away from this, even though it doesn't make me happy, and go for that. But like, being around you, I'm like, well, if you can do it, why aren't I? Like, I need to believe in myself a little bit more.
Yeah, and the big thing people don't realize too is a lot of the times if you're working on escaping the system and being self-employed, you have to have multiple revenue streams. That's like the biggest thing most people don't think is like we both make videos, do workshops, have lectures, write books. Yeah, like this
like
and
all
this
the,
and
all
this
entrepreneurs,
and this and this.
not all of it, almost
99,
all is like slash. Like I hate. It's difficult when people ask me what my job is because I have like
it's so
12 slashes. But on that topic, I also want to say that even if you're not clear about your passions or if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, if you prefer working for someone else or doing a 9 to 5, I don't want to just bash that and say it's a bad thing. Like, I was listening to an entrepreneurial podcast recently, and he said too, you know, many of his friends who are multimillionaires work under other people 9 to 5 because that's how they thrive. So having said this is for the people that are interested in lifestyles like ours, but there's also nothing wrong with thriving in the system if that's what works for your path.
Totally.
So.
If you can make it work and you feel called to it and you can find a balance and everything, go for it, 100%.
Okay, where does your inspiration and creativity in life come from?
The first thing that inspires me is that I spent, like I said earlier, almost a year in jail. So for me, like, when it's hard to explain, but when you lose out on life, you recognize the importance of like getting out there and figuring out what you want to do and just making the most of it and enjoying life and that inspires me a lot. As you know, like I said a minute ago, with 9 to 5 systems and stuff, or like working in a box. Like, since I was in a box, I don't want to be back in a box. So what can I do to keep myself out of the box and like continue creating? And I did that a lot for work now. Now it's kind of me trying to figure out how to inspire and create myself and like come out of my like almost like ego box or like my emotional shell and get more back out in the world, which you're really good at. And I'm still kind of getting back out of doing that since I lived in a city for a few years and I kind of hunkered down. I guess it's the unity of everything and the beingness and the ability that even if like you aren't perfect, that you can help other people and make them smile and make them laugh and improve their lives, even if it's in really, really small ways. I learned that from my mom, especially my grandma. You know, they were school teachers, and my mom, you know, was never trying to be famous or like have anything besides that. She just loved work because she got to go to school every day and like make little kids' days like endlessly, and she would always do it, and that like drew her. So for me, it's just like that basis and that simplicity of being able to say, you know, even me as I am now, how I am, all my good sides, all my flaws, all these things about me, I can still help people, I can still assist people, I can still make life a little bit better. And that's the thing I think we can all aim for, and what can inspire all of us is that ability to say, you know, no matter who you are or where you are or what you've done or what you've done or where you've been, you can still go out in the world and like inspire the world and like have a good time and make others smile and laugh and do all these crazy cool things, which I think is great. And that can come in so many forms. You know, for me, it's studying different philosophies and sharing them and explaining them and teaching them and hopefully helping others understand them. For other people, it's creating amazing, beautiful documentaries and movies. For others, it's drawing, painting, and art. It just, that to me is, it's so beautiful how no matter who you are or where you are, you can do something incredible to help other people or to open eyes or to change lives. And that to me is a super inspiring thing for me. It's what really makes me and has made me want to for years get up and make all these different videos and do all this different stuff. That's why I think the internet's so cool, is you can do that like from afar. You know, you can inspire and create and help and understand your own reality better, but people across the planet. So that's always inspired me a lot. So I guess kind of my mom and my grandma, and then my situation in the past leading into what I do now, which is the coolest thing ever, I think, to be able to connect with people. I grow, I show it, and then they can grow too, and they can show their growth and help others, and that chain reaction can keep going forward, which is absolutely magical.
I think on like the topic of creativity itself, we are all creative creatures. We know our life force, energy is creative. Our Shakti, our feminine force, which is within each of us, and our connection to Earth is all our creativity. Especially as women, we have the ability to create within ourselves and outside, which is an insane miracle.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I've learned most about creativity on my own is that once you start creating, you probably notice this, you start creating more, like it builds more. Once you know, if I'm feeling like I've lost inspiration, I'll start painting. I'll go buy a bunch of paint supplies and just create something. And then all of a sudden I'm getting ideas like, oh, I want to write a book on this, and oh, I'm going to make a YouTube video on this, and I want to create this, because it's just something that once you use a little, it just grows more and more and more. Like right now I'm so creative. I'm like creating a ton of projects. I just started like learning to DJ. I want to create music. It's like always, once I just open that portal, it's like, and the amazing thing with being humans is our creative potential is infinite. How insane if you actually like sit on that and meditate on that. It's like I actually can create infinite amounts of everything. And like, why wouldn't I want to take advantage of that? It's so exciting, and it's our way of being, you know, expressing ourselves uniquely in a way that makes us happy, in a way that connects us to the divine. So of course, once you're in that flow, then you're creating more. So I think people who have lost their inspiration for creation, that's also on your sacral chakra, which has to do with relationships. If there's a block there, it's actually really good to paint or, you know, create something, and it starts clearing that chakra, the energy. Yeah, it's powerful. Do you find that when you create something?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've probably seen it. I have like, because I've written 2 books so far. Like, I love writing, and right now I have like a few introductions done for multiple books. But even when I go on that website we use, I have like 20 book covers done because I have so many ideas. I like keep every day. I'm like, I'll start this book. Oh no, wait, I have another idea, and then I'll make a book cover because I like doing graphic design too. So like, I have like 20 different book covers done for ideas for writing because I have so much ideas. So that just alone shows, you know, each of us, if we like start, it keeps feeding it. And the thing is, you gotta eventually jump into one of them, which is my next step now that I've. It's been about 1.5 years since my last book was published, so
the creativity part is very feminine. The masculine is like actually executing.
Yeah. So right now I've been really the feminine for that creation, and I gotta execute and get into that third book and dedicate to one.
Having the balance too.
But it's cool seeing. I think the big thing that helped me a lot this past weekend with creativity was you can see even at Earth Frequency, like not everyone there is like a painter or a poet or like an author, but like everyone when they're on the dance floor and that music's going, like they're in their zone creating, like embodying that. They just might not even know it, you know? So I think that's a cool thing is like you said, I think a lot of people just like, they get taught not to embrace that potential or they forget it and they have to bring it back and find a way to reinvigorate it. And not everyone does, but I think most people do, and especially if you're watching videos like this, you're on the right path because you're seeing that kind of reminder that, oh yeah, I gotta embrace my creativity and figure out what inspires me so I can find out what I want to do in this life. Yeah.
And have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta enjoy it.
It's a lot of fun.
That's my thing is like I've kind of like burnt myself out a bit, so now I'm just like resetting, relaxing, enjoying, and coming back to that kind of enjoyment before so I can go back into it later.
Last question.
Wait, one more for you guys. Ooh, this is a good one. How do you both feel in this very moment? That's a strong one.
I feel complex at the moment.
Yeah.
This new year has been really powerful for me already, so I've just been really going through so many different emotions in one day, and I'm feeling fulfilled, which is a new thing for me because I just came back to Australia after spending a few years. And when I was here, I went through the most painful experiences of my entire life, and the hardest and the most lonely, and you know, I left here traumatized by, you know, some pretty dark things, difficult things that had happened to me, and to come back, I wasn't sure if I would be really depressed or, you know, if it would be very hard for me or if I'd feel good, and I actually feel amazing being back in this country, and it just feels right again. I love this country so much, but it feels good. And also I've gone back to the places where, like, I went back to this beach that I used to cry at every single morning. Literally, I was having, like, suicidal thoughts when I was here last time, and I was on my knees on the beach, 4 a.m. for sunrise every morning, like, begging, please show me anything, why I'm supposed to live here, why I'm supposed to continue this life. Like, it was really, really difficult times for me. And I went back to that beach and I just sat there and I felt such peace within myself. Before, I felt like this big need to be searching for something, and I realize now that like need, obviously I'm still like seeking answers and stuff, but that need that I was like looking for something for my happiness, for my peace within myself is totally gone because I know it's already within me and it always has been. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot of things right now, but it's been really like a beautiful experience to know that within myself. So I'm really feeling like powerful at this moment, whole on my own, especially after a breakup. So I'm feeling,
especially with all the things
really good.
You got planning that are coming in the next like months and years. So the camera just cut off at the end of Krystal's explanation of how she feels in this moment, which is incredible. But what I basically spent a few minutes saying that I'll recap simply is just that I'm excited and feeling vulnerable because my issues growing up and a lot of things I've been working on is vulnerability and opening up and releasing and admitting my issues and kind of healing from them based on not just childhood, but the things I learned growing up, and that kind of solidified in my mind based on all these different factors that we don't really know where they all come from. But I've always kind of had that mentality of, since growing up, you know, I'm fine, I'm okay, don't worry about this, I'm all right. And so I'm now getting to the point where I'm just starting to open up and kind of realize I have all that internal homework to do, and I'm excited to do it and excited to get into it. I'll be living at this eco village here in Australia, out in the woods. This has an amazing Krishna temple there for the next month plus, maybe 2 months, depending on my visa. And it's kind of eye surgery I have to get at the end of March or April. That's just what I'm excited for, and I'm looking forward to that, as opening up and being vulnerable fully for the first time. and letting myself return to my source and my essence and my truth, and rediscover my dharma in a way that I don't think I've allowed myself to ever. So it's a big thing, and I feel like a lot of times I feel like a part of my mind's like, oh, you should worry about it or be anxious, but I'm really excited for it because I know it's something that needs to be done. So
With their hearts open.
yeah, exactly, opening the heart. So I'm excited for that vulnerability, and it's a cool feeling to feel that way after being kind of closed off for so long. So I'm really excited for the future, and I'm feeling really good right now about it.
Big things to come.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of our video today.
Yeah, it went a little longer than planned.
Yeah, so thanks for everyone who's here and watched the whole video. Thank you guys so much. Hope we answered some important, interesting questions for you, and you can.
Yeah, thanks for sending those in. It's been really fun to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful.
Love
Thank
you
you guys.
guys.
Ram ram.